So, we saw how to look things up with parallel lists. Let's see how we can do the same thing with a dictionary. So I'm going to create a new program. And so instead of creating multiple lists, we're going to create a phone number dictionary. We're going to ask the user for a name, and then display the number. So how do we create a dictionary? Well, basically we can do it like this. We can say, let's say our dictionary is going to be a phone book, so we're going to say phone book is equal to, and we're going to use curly braces to designate this a dictionary. Now, where it's different than a normal sequence is we actually have pairs of items. So we're going to say Alice, and then I'm going to put a colon and 2, 3, 4, 1. So Alice is the key, 2, 3, 4, 1 is the value. So what we have in here right now is one key value pair. And then I'm going to put in another key, Beth, and the value for that one will be 9102. And then we're going to put in, Cecil, and we're going to put 3258. So this dictionary has 3 items, 3 key value pairs. Alice is a key, 2341 is a value. Beth is a key, 9102 is a value. Cecil is a key, 3258 is a value. So we've got these 3 key value pairs. So how do we use this? Well, let's say name is equal to input. Please enter a name. And then what we're going to do is we're going to print phone book. And normally, you know, if we were going to do a regular sequence, we would be putting in a number in here. Instead of a number, we're going to put in that name. So what will happen is that if we put in name here, what this dictionary will return when we use the indexing is instead of an integer we're putting in here, we're actually putting in a string. And so let's run this. So now if I put Beth, we get 9102. Let me run it again. If I put Cecil, I get 3258. So it's doing a lookup, and the nice thing about dictionaries is it will actually do this faster than if we do this with 2 parallel lists and indexing. So it's very efficient at looking things up and finding the corresponding value. Let's see what our phone book looks like. Let's so I'm just going to put print phone book. I'll put Alice. Yeah, so we're able to display it. But let's say that we just wanted the names, and we wanted this to actually be up here, I think. So we would display the names before we would ask. We don't want to display the whole phone book, we just want to display the names. Well, what we can do is we can use phonebook dot keys. And what this will do is this will display just the key values of our phone book. And so I'll run this again. And now you can see we get Dictionary of Keys, Alice, Beth, and Cecil. Dictionary keys, Alice, Beth, and Cecil. So that's not a great thing to show to user. It doesn't really look very good. So what we could do is, let's see what happens if we convert it to a string. So we're going to change. So this does give us just the keys, but it kind of displays it in kind of a weird way. So I'll do a string conversion by putting str in front of it. Okay. And so, yeah, still not great looking. Well, what if I made it into a list? Oh. Let's fix the spelling while we're at it. So now we get it as a list. So if I convert it to a list, and since it's a list of strings, I can also say, you know what, let's separate it by a comma and join that. So I'm doing a bunch of things here. I'm taking the phone book, getting the keys out of the phone book, converting that to a list, joining that on the comma, and then maybe what we'll do is say print names here. Put a little prompt here. Just like we did kind of in the other program. So So now we have our names nicely listed out with separated by commas, and then the user can enter a value and get one back. So that works nicely. Let's say though that we wanted both the name and the address. Well, how could we do that? Well, a number of ways. One is we could actually make the value be a tuple. So now what we could do is we could have a number, and let's see, we had our addresses here. We'll just reuse them. I'll just put it here so I can just grab these. I don't have to retype them. And so what's going on here? So now what we have is we have Alice, Beth, and Cecil as a key, but the value is actually a tuple, which has two elements in it. The the phone number and the address. So now what we would do is we'd get the name, which would be the key. And let's see what happens when we print phonebook.name now. And we get it, and of course it's not, this isn't a very good output, but we do get both the phone number and the address. Well, how can we make that better? Well, maybe what we'll do is we will say data is equal to phone book of name. So we'll get that in there, and then what we'll do is we will, here, where we were printing this, we want to do this. So how do we get that? Well, we need phone, which will equal data index 0, and then address, which will equal data index 1. So how's that working? Well, with phone book, once we get the user's name, we look up the name in the dictionary, and we're going to get a tuple out of it. Either that, or that, or that, as we saw. So then what we're going to do is, well, that's stored in this data, and then we're going to say, give me the 0 index of, which is going to be the first element of whichever one we get. And then the address will be at index 1. So that's 0, 1. That will get the address. So once we have it in phone and address, we can display it. And then this would be another way of pulling something out of that dictionary. So there we have our names. I put in Beth, and we get the phone number is 9102. Address is Bar Street 42. I run it again. And now let's try Alice. And we see phone number is 2341 and food drive is 23. So that works pretty well. Can we make it a little smoother perhaps? Well, let's try this. Let's make a new program. We'll call this one Dictionaries in Dictionaries demo.py. And I'm going to copy this code. And now what we could do is we could also make this be a dictionary. And you can kind of think of this being like this right now. Python will let you kind of put these on separate lines, maybe a little easier to see what's going on this way. And we could actually turn these into dictionaries as well. So rather than we could say, okay, so phone will be 2341 and address will be Foo Drive 23. And then same thing with this. Let's do it this way so that they're all consistent. So now what we have is we have an overall phone book, which is this outer one, and then inside we have each one of the keys is associated with another phone book, and inside each one of those we have a key for phone and a key for address. So how would we use this? So this will stay the same. The keys will still be Alice, Beth, and Cecil. That won't be a problem. We'll have them enter the name. But now this is going to be different because it will be data, phone, and data, address. So because these are now dictionaries, we're not going to use index numbers to get these two elements. We're going to use their keys, phone and address. And in all other respects, this will work the same. And we can see that it still works the same. So what's the primary difference here? All of these approaches are fine. You can use a dictionary of tuples. Let me copy this one so we have an example. And this will be sequence in dictionary. .py. I'll put that one that way. And then the dictionary demos, let me just revert back to the way it was initially. Yeah, so the first one we did, we just had a simple dictionary with key value pairs. And that works fine. But we can only, with a dictionary like that, we can only have one element in place. So Yeah, we get 912. So that works. We got the phone number, but the problem with that is, of course, we can only have one value stored per dictionary item. So how do we address that? Well, and then the second thing we did is we say, well, you know what? Let's associate as our value with each key a sequence. In this case, we used a tuple with 2 elements in it, and this one worked as well, and it allowed us to have both a phone number and an address. But in order to make that work, what we do is we have to use the index number. First, we get the overall value from that key, which gives us one of these 3 tuples. And then once we have that, we have to grab each one of these elements by using indexing with 0 or 1. Because with for example, a sequence that's a tuple, we have to use numeric indices to get out the individual items, and then we're able to display them. Then we went, but then another way you can do it is have a dictionary that contains multiple dictionaries. And so here we have the same keys, but what they have as their value is another dictionary, and inside that dictionary we have multiple keys which provide the phone and address in here. And then here, in order to get those elements, we use not indices, because the second order item here is a dictionary. We use the key values of that sub-dictionary in there to get out the final values. So that kind of shows you 3 different approaches of using dictionaries in order to make a data structure in which you can find elements very quickly. Thank you.